Ukrainian forces have successfully executed mid-range strikes against key Russian military infrastructure. These attacks targeted critical supply lines and ammunition depots deep behind enemy lines. By disrupting these logistics, Ukraine is actively slowing the Russian war effort and forcing Moscow to reconfigure its frontline support. Russian military command has moved toward a slow, attrition-based strategy in Ukraine. By focusing on constant pressure rather than rapid maneuvers, Moscow aims to exhaust Ukrainian resources and manpower over time. This shift signals a long-term commitment to a war position that risks prolonged instability across the region. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine hits its 4-year mark, new data highlights the devastating scale of the conflict. Tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians have been killed, with millions of people displaced from their homes. These figures underscore the humanitarian catastrophe that continues to reshape Eastern Europe. New geographic data tracks the shifting front lines between Russian and Ukrainian forces. The maps reveal how the conflict has evolved from a rapid invasion into a static, highly fortified struggle for territory. These visual updates provide a clear picture of the strategic stalemate currently defining the region. The war in Ukraine stems from long-standing geopolitical tensions over NATO expansion and Russian regional influence. Vladimir Putin's decision to invade reflects a desire to reassert Moscow's dominance over its neighbor. This conflict has fundamentally dismantled the post-Cold War security architecture in Europe. North Korea has unveiled a new museum exhibit explicitly highlighting its support for Russia's war in Ukraine. The display showcases the regime's alignment with Moscow, including the supply of munitions for the front line. This move confirms the strengthening military ties between the two isolated nations. Diplomatic experts are questioning whether a sustainable peace agreement can be reached in the Ukraine conflict. With both Kyiv and Moscow holding rigid, non-negotiable positions, the path to a ceasefire remains blocked. The lack of a diplomatic breakthrough ensures the continued loss of life and resources. Ukraine is currently locked in a brutal war of endurance against a larger Russian force. Kyiv relies on international aid to sustain its defense, while attempting to outlast Russian military capacity. This strategy forces Ukraine to carefully manage its limited ammunition and personnel to prevent a total collapse of the front. Ukraine sits at the volatile intersection of Western democratic interests and Russian imperial ambitions. The ongoing conflict serves as a proxy battleground for global power influence in Europe. The outcome of this struggle will dictate the continent's security landscape for the next several decades. Leaked communications confirm that Cameroonian military contractors have been killed while fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. These individuals were recruited to bolster Moscow's manpower needs on the front lines. The discovery highlights Russia's increasing reliance on foreign fighters to sustain its prolonged military campaign. Rising tensions in the Middle East are drawing global attention and resources away from the war in Ukraine. Russia is exploiting this distraction to launch a renewed spring offensive against weakened Ukrainian positions. This shift in focus threatens to leave Kyiv vulnerable as international focus fractures. The conflict in Iran is increasingly becoming a proxy arena for the Russia-Ukraine war. Moscow and its allies are using the regional instability to complicate Western decision-making and supply chains. This synchronization of conflicts forces global powers to manage multiple, interconnected crises simultaneously. As the war enters its 5th year, Ukrainians are holding nationwide memorials for those killed in the fighting. The ceremonies honor both fallen soldiers and civilians caught in the crossfire of the Russian invasion. These commemorations serve as a reminder of the immense human cost paid by the nation since 2022. The war in Ukraine is providing military analysts with critical insights into the nature of modern conventional combat. The conflict demonstrates the dominance of artillery, drone reconnaissance, and the necessity of massive industrial production capacity. These lessons are forcing global militaries to rethink their own defense strategies. A new photo series documents the visual history of the war in Ukraine over the last 4 years. The images capture the destruction of cities, the resilience of civilians, and the harsh realities of trench warfare. This visual archive highlights the devastating transformation of the Ukrainian landscape. Vladimir Putin's decision to invade Ukraine was driven by a desire to prevent Western integration and restore Russian hegemony. Experts believe the war could end either through a negotiated territorial compromise or a total exhaustion of one side's military capacity. Both scenarios carry significant risks for European stability. The widespread use of drones has fundamentally changed how Russia and Ukraine conduct military operations. These low-cost, high-impact weapons are used for constant surveillance and precision strikes, leading to massive attrition on both sides. This dronization has made the battlefield more lethal and difficult to navigate. Analysts are debating whether the Russia-Ukraine conflict will reach a conclusion by 2026. Current trends suggest that without a major shift in military or political support, the fighting could continue indefinitely. Projections remain speculative as both sides prepare for further high-intensity combat. Satellite data from Sentinel-2 reveals that military activity has caused severe, widespread damage to Ukraine's forest ecosystems. Shelling and trench construction have destroyed large swaths of protected land, leading to long-term ecological consequences. This environmental destruction will require decades of recovery efforts once the fighting stops. Australian officials are citing the war in Ukraine as a direct warning to prepare for potential conflict in the Asia-Pacific. The invasion highlights the dangers of global instability and the need for stronger regional defense alliances. Policymakers are now reassessing national security to deter similar aggression in their own backyard.